Are psychedelics good or bad? That's a question that I didn't ask when I found them. See, when I found psychedelics, I was probably in the darkest time of my life in terms of understanding reality. I was really confused, and it was like I was in quicksand, and I just kept digging myself into a bigger pit. And fears of the unknown, fears from beliefs about Christianity and thinking we're in like the end times and Revelation and it all aligns and Jesus coming back and like and making me think irrationally. And then finding drugs, smoking weed, that back then it was just kind of like a crutch. It was really cool because it reminded you of the love, reminded me of the love that I had deep inside. Aw, then a dog comes whenever I say love. It reminded me of the love that I had. And I did MDMA, I did cocaine, had some fun times. But it ended pretty quickly just because a few months in, I found shrooms and I found acid. And once I tried those, I knew there was something special and there was something different. And alcohol and cocaine, um, you know, what is it called? Adderall and even weed kind of like would bring my vibration down a lot. So it's funny that there's like these light drugs and then there's like the dark drugs that make you be in the lower emotions. Okay, dog. Okay. You're okay right there. You're okay. In lower emotions and in desire and fear and lust. And then there's different chemicals that make you feel more whole and complete and want less and make you speculate things that you would never even think about if you're just distracted in normal life. So as soon as I found them, at the time, I don't even know if it's the right thing to say, but like I was like pretty damaged from growing up, like being adopted so much and losing my families and losing the connection to love. And yeah, so finding psychedelics, I found that love again, and I started understanding reality a little bit more. But psychedelics open the door. They don't push you through it. You have to walk through it yourself. And you could walk through it using them or not using them, but it's all about listening to your intuition and listening to your body and that higher self, listening to where you need to go next, where you are going to go next, and not necessarily where your ego wants to stay and. But where was I? So that's when I started microdosing every day. I had a couple trips for a year, and then doing a ton of research, of course, I found that you could take it at smaller dosages. And I basically just upped my dose and microdosed every day. Tried that with shrooms. Shrooms at the time, I was very ungrounded, and so it didn't help me at all. I just got in my head more. But acid was like a lifesaver, and it made me feel like a superstar microdosing it. Like, and I just felt so whole and complete and awesome. And I noticed my magnetism changed. Like, more people were drawn to me. More people wanted to talk to me. There was like sentence fluency and connection was magnified times 10. So my whole life started getting better. Then, hey, if you gotta chew on things, you gotta get out of here. Don't be chewing on things. Then where was I? Okay, so there was unresolved beliefs still in me that I didn't address, and most of it was this Christian fear. And I'm not saying that Jesus isn't coming back in some way, and I'm not saying that Christianity is wrong, because I think that all paths are a path, and it just depends on the individual. But I had irrational fears based on the brimstone and fire understanding of religion. And if you do anything, you're going to hell. And it just didn't make sense, you know? Why did Adam, and if God knew that they were going to eat the fruit, then why did he make the tree to begin with, you know? Unless there's a lesson to learn. So I still had this irrational fear, and looking at Revelation, ever since I was younger, I was obsessed with the Bible. And Jesus coming back, and it seemed like the government and the way politics in the world was, that it was true. So I was like, oh my God, you know? And I always believed in the metaphysical, and that's why I think so many people are actually believe in Jesus and believe in the Bible and Christianity, is not for any reason other than the metaphysical. The metaphysical. I mean, there's truth within it. So there's little grains of truth, even though a lot of it's confusing and doesn't really make sense. But the fact that the impossible is actually possible, that's something we know subconsciously. That's something that science is now starting to prove, even to all the unbelievers. So, microdosing acid, thinking about this stuff, I was still scared of the end of the world. And then once I started like microdosing mescaline or something, I had this realization that I was like, I'm Jesus. And it was it was scary, because I thought I had to die on a cross, and I had to show the world. I was going to have to like show the world that what the truth is, and tell the world, and the government or, you know, the lesbians or someone was going to kill me. You know, just the world's pretty crazy, you know? And I was going to have to die on a cross. And I'm like, okay, I have to get ready for this shit, man. But I'm pretty sure it's not going to happen then. It was a psychosis. It was a belief system that, I mean, this can be true for, you can manifest. I could have maybe manifested that if I really believed it and leaned into that. Then it might have had to happen, you know? Who knows? Or some like event. But I think this time we're meant to be alive. You know, there was times before where we were meant to die for something, but now we're at a time where I feel like we're meant to live. That living says more, and actually, like, the world is actually much better than whoever they are is making it appear. So it took me a couple years to get rid of those beliefs, or, you know, outgrow them. And maybe 2 years ago, I finally stopped believing that the end of the world was happening and that I'm Jesus. Because obviously, I mean, we're all Jesus. That's the thing. And that was my realization, though, because I'm like, I know I'm God. I know all this stuff, you know, especially if you do a psychedelic, you can get like, it feels like you know everything. And it feels true. Like you understand the laws, and you're connected to your intuition and your higher self. And then you come back down to reality, and, you know, distractions and life make you forget about the real truths. Yeah, and now I'm like 2-3 years beyond that, and oh yeah, that's just the reason why I'm making this video, because that's one of the things to look out for. Making decisions while microdosing or using psychedelics a lot. You know, you want to have one foot in solid reality, in physical reality, be grounded, and then one foot in the spiritual world. But not before. I had like 2 feet in the spiritual world, in the ether, and like one pinky in the actual physical world. And so I was very ungrounded, and people didn't make sense to me at all. I didn't know, it was just my own reflection. Psychedelics are very powerful tools to make you realize the higher truths. Only you could know if they're going to work for you. I knew they were for me, that they were working for me, because even after I had the most terrifying experiences of my life, I continued to use them. I was like, okay, well, you know, because I knew that wasn't the lesson. I knew that the lesson was deeper, and I later realized that it was my frequency. and my inner world, my inner beingness that was leading me to these darker astral planes, or whatever you want to call them. It's funny though, because my friends, like, every time I had a bad trip with friends, they would like quit using it. I'd be like, dude, never doing that again, bro. Like, next week I'm doing it. I'm like, of course I'm learning from my lesson. You know, if I take 4 tabs and time stops and I'm stuck in eternity by myself and I come back, you know, like, I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, it's just, I think it's about building community. I think that's really what it's about around these substances, because that's what I didn't have. That's what made me be so introverted, and just like, I would talk to people, but then like, the more I said, the more I looked like I was foolish. Like, guys, have you ever tried acid? People looking at me like I'm crazy, you know? I'm like, what the heck? But building community, having the space to let people talk and listen to them, and, you know, hearing other people that have been through similar experiences be like, oh, bro, just brush it off. Just stop focusing on it. Whatever the solution may be that other people have learned, you know? So that's really important. And so anyone that's watching this, it's important that you share your stories. No matter how crazy you are, no matter how normal you are. You know, you're just a normal dude, but you had this dream or took this drug and you had this experience. And because it was just, it's been so demonetized. Demonized, demonetized. Again, those words are mixed up. And it's just time for the world to heal. And like I said, these substances aren't meant for everyone. They're not. Maybe half. Maybe. I don't even know for sure. But yeah, it's just time for us to fully evolve as a species, and that involves us coming together. Before, we were connected through fear by the governments, and that was just the way. We can't blame anyone. That was just the way the world was. That was the astrology. That was the alignment of the planets back then. I don't know. However you want to figure it out. You know, we were in a different time, and now we're entering a new era, a different energy, and we could feel it. You know, the more I try in this era, the worse off I am. Before, I could try and make things succeed. Now I try and I get so burnt out. Meanwhile, I meditate and visualize, and then things just happen. I'm just thankful, and everything I want just comes to me. So, anyways, I guess that's the end of this video. I never like have this written out or anything. I just kind of talk about it. But the only other bad side effect that I really got from psychedelics, besides having psychosis and or you know, thinking that something's happening when it's really not, believing something, but that's not from the psychedelic. That's something within me. The only other thing is the bad trips, because whatever you think a bad experience is in normal reality is, it's like times a million in the psychedelic realm. And so whatever you lean into, like love or fear, you're going to get enveloped by. You're going to get poured into a black hole of either love or fear or any mixture in between. So, yep, hope you found this useful, and I'll see you next time.